Imagine a world where death exists, but nobody understands it. A world where creatures watch others collapse, disappear, and never return, yet never stop to wonder if the same fate awaits them. For most of life's history on Earth, that was reality. Animals react to death. They fear danger. Some even mourn. Elephants have been observed lingering around the bones of their dead. Chimpanzees sometimes stay with deceased members of their group for days. Crows gather around dead crows in what researchers call crow funerals. But there is a difference between reacting to death and understanding it. The real question is not when humans first saw death. The question is when humans first realized, one day that will happen to me. No scientist can point to a specific date. There was no single morning when a prehistoric human woke up and suddenly understood mortality. Instead, this realization was likely one of the most important psychological revolutions in the history of our species. And it may have changed everything, including religion, art, civilization, and the very structure of human thought itself. To understand why, we need to travel back hundreds of thousands of years. Long before cities, long before language, long before history, our ancestors lived much like other animals. They searched for food, avoided predators, raised offspring, and survived one day at a time. Death was everywhere. A leopard attacks, a child falls, a disease spreads, someone disappears. But seeing death does not necessarily mean understanding it. A young chimpanzee may watch its mother die. It may become distressed. It may search for her. But there is little evidence that it sits awake at night wondering whether it will someday suffer the same fate. Humans, however, became different. At some point in our evolutionary journey, something changed inside the human mind. We developed the ability to mentally travel through time. Not physically. Psychologically, we could remember the distant past, imagine events that had never happened, and predict future outcomes. This ability transformed human intelligence. But it came with a terrible side effect. Once you can imagine the future, you can imagine your own absence from it. And that may have been the birth of existential awareness. Picture a small group of early humans gathered around a fire roughly 100,000 years ago. An elder dies. The body remains. Days pass. The person does not wake up. The group notices a pattern. Everyone who dies stays dead. Nobody returns. Eventually, a frightening thought emerges. If everyone dies, what about me? That realization may have been one of the most terrifying moments in human evolution. Because unlike hunger, cold, or predators, death cannot be escaped, cannot be fought, cannot be negotiated with. For the first time, a creature understood that its life had an ending, and that understanding created a problem no other species had ever faced. How do you live when you know you are going to die? Evidence suggests humans began struggling with this question surprisingly early. One of the strongest clues comes from burial practices. Around 100,000 years ago, humans were already intentionally burying their dead. This may not sound remarkable today, but from an evolutionary perspective, it is astonishing. Digging graves requires time and energy. Dead bodies provide no survival advantage. Yet humans repeatedly performed these rituals. Why? Because burial suggests something deeper than practical behavior. It suggests meaning. Some graves contain flowers. Others contain tools, ornaments, pigments, or food. Objects that would be useless to a corpse, unless the living believe death was not the end. Many archaeologists believe these early burials represent humanity's first attempt to answer the unbearable reality of mortality. If death could not be prevented, perhaps it could be explained. Perhaps there was another world. Perhaps the dead continued somewhere else. Perhaps existence did not truly end. Whether those beliefs were true is a separate question. What matters is that humans began creating stories capable of defeating death psychologically. And stories became our greatest survival tool. Unlike claws, unlike teeth, unlike speed, stories allowed humans to survive emotionally. They provided comfort in the face of uncertainty, meaning in the face of suffering, hope in the face of extinction. Some researchers argue that religion itself may have emerged partly from this realization. Not because humans were ignorant, but because humans became aware. Awareness creates anxiety, and anxiety demands answers. Every civilization that followed wrestled with the same mystery. The ancient Egyptians spent enormous resources preparing for the afterlife. The Greeks imagined the underworld. The Vikings imagined Valhalla. The Hindus developed concepts of reincarnation. The Buddhists explored liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. Different cultures, different answers. The same question: what happens when we die? Yet perhaps the most extraordinary response was not religion. It was culture itself. Once humans understood mortality, something remarkable happened. They started creating things that could outlive them. Art, language, monuments, stories, music, knowledge. Why spend years painting cave walls if life is only about survival? Why build structures that take generations to complete? Why write books you will never live long enough to see fully appreciated? Because humans discovered a form of immortality. Not biological immortality, symbolic immortality. The ability to leave something behind. A name, a story, an idea, a legacy. In this sense, nearly every human achievement may be connected to mortality. We build because we know we won't last forever. We create because time is limited. We love because moments disappear. Death gives life urgency. Without an ending, would anything feel valuable? Imagine watching a movie that never ends. Reading a book with no final page. Playing a game with no possibility of completion. Meaning often comes from limits. And human life is perhaps the ultimate example. Ironically, the thing that makes life frightening may also be the thing that makes it meaningful. Modern psychology has explored this idea extensively. A theory known as terror management theory proposes that much of human behavior is influenced by unconscious awareness of death. According to researchers, people cope with mortality by investing in cultural beliefs, relationships, achievements, and identities that provide a sense of lasting significance. Whether consciously or unconsciously, humans spend much of their lives trying to become part of something larger than themselves. Family, a nation, a religion, a cause, an idea, something that continues after they are gone. This may explain why humans are unique among animals. Not because we are stronger, not because we are faster, but because we carry a burden few creatures appear to possess. We know the future, and we know what waits at the end of it. Yet despite this knowledge, humanity did not collapse into despair. Instead, we built civilizations. We explored oceans. We walked on the moon. We composed symphonies. We created science. We transformed the planet. The awareness of death did not destroy us. It motivated us. Perhaps that is the greatest paradox of all. The knowledge that life ends may be the very reason humans strive to make life matter. So when did humans first realize they were going to die? The honest answer is that nobody knows. There was no single day, no specific moment, no historical record, only a gradual awakening that unfolded across thousands of generations. A thought emerging slowly inside the human mind. A realization growing stronger with every burial, every story, every question asked beneath the stars. And once that realization appeared, the world changed forever. Because the moment humans understood death, they also began searching for meaning. And in many ways, that search is still continuing today.